Keep watching The Politics every Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern Time on New York Parrot TV, the voice for humanity.
Good afternoon. I'm your host, Robert Press. I am a reporter for the Bronx Chronicle, Buckchester Times, Co-op City News, and host of this show. With me is my co-host, Anthony Rivieccio. Please introduce yourself, Anthony.
Good morning, Robert. Good morning, everyone. My name is Professor Anthony Rivieccio. As I like to share with everyone, I actually have three lives, not one. My predominant life is that I'm an income tax and financial advisor. My second life is I am a college professor for both public and private universities. And my third life is I run a wonderful small club, or I should say I'm the founder of a wonderful small club called Northwest Bronx Democrats.
As we continue with the show, our other co-host, Mr. Dion Powell, will be with us later. Unfortunately, he is at an event, and what's happening is Kamala Harris, the Vice President of the United States, along with Mayor Bill de Blasio, is coming to the Bronx at the new Eastchester YMCA. That's happening at 12:30, and one of our guests, Irene Estrada, the district leader from the 80th Assembly District, is going to be there, and she's not going to be on our show. I would have loved to have been there and do a live broadcast from there. And as a reporter, I should have been there, but my commitment here is to the hosting of the show. So we're going to probably wing it here, but let's go right into redistricting, Anthony. All right, we're on our second round of redistricting. The first lines were rejected by the Assembly and the Senate. So the so-called independent redistricting committee has to come back by Thanksgiving with a second set of lines. Then the Assembly and the Senate have a chance to look at them, say, yes, we like these lines, or reject them, which they probably will. And if that happens, they will make up their own lines. There is speculation about what's going to happen. I was in Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, our congresswoman, well, at least my congresswoman, her campaign office, and they're under the feeling, like me, that the congresswoman will be picking up Co-op City, if not more further up. Anything you have on redistricting? Anthony?
No, well, not, anything official, of course, but I do think the audience should be aware that it looks like, but of course it's not definite, that the redistricting will probably start in the Long Island area and then come up north. And as it goes up north, it's, going to go here and there and here and there. And up further on upstate is really where the problems, or I should say the elimination will lie. But yeah, a little bit of the Bronx. I'm going to presume the eastern section of the Bronx will probably get a little bit more mangled than the west.
Well, that's, again, what Anthony was speculating or talking about is that upstate New York has lost a lot of population.
Right.
And New York City has gained 500,000 people, but that cannot offset upstate. And we will be losing one congressional district, which will be coming from upstate. So it's going to create a vacuum that's going to push everything up. Current Co-op City Riverdale Congressman Jamal Bailey will probably wind up either further upstate or on the other side of the Tappan Zee Bridge, and he shall become former Congressman Jamal Bowman then. As far as the state Senate and the Assembly, well, Anthony's on one of these so-called fringe areas. He lives right in the 80th Assembly District on the borderline of the 78th Assembly District. And Anthony really doesn't know if he's going to be in the 78th Assembly District next year or continue in the 80th. Am I right on that?
I would say a lot of neighborhoods now are going to be like that. I mean, redistricting really became aggressive 30 years ago, predominantly in the Bronx. So, after 30 years of redistricting, what you have are what I like to call solidary type of areas. And yes, I live in one of them.
Right. And we can go back, as Anthony says, to State Senator Jeff Corman, who was really redistricted out of his district. his district was set up to be a minority district when Senator Corman was not a minority. So that's when Senator Joe Gallagher came in, and then Senator Ephraim Gonzalez took it over, and Pedro Espada took over the seat. And currently, it's a seat now. It's been moved a little because Senator Gonzalez went up into Riverdale, but that seat no longer goes up to Riverdale. It basically is a Middle Bronx seat for Senator Gustavo Rivera, who's been there for 10 years.
Robert, you used the right example, but let me sort of re-clarify that a little bit, although you used the right example. The 34th Senate District, which predominantly covered Bedford Park and Norwood as well 30 years ago, has now turned into 3 different Senate districts. Of course, the 34th, which it was for decades, and then in the 90s, it sort of transformed. I shouldn't say transformed. They created a 33rd Senate district where, like you indicated, both Wallace and Pedro Espada were the representatives. And then it changed again into the 36th Senate district. So in a period of 10 years, 10 to 20 years, our just one block, has changed 3 times. And what I mean by change is not gerrymandering. We're not talking a couple of blocks. We're literally talking a creation of a new district. And again, it's happened 3 times in the last 20 years. And I know in your neck of the woods, the east side, the northeast side of the Bronx, they're in that transitional mode as well. So,
You're correct.
The lines are changing very dramatically 30 years later.
10 years ago, when Mark Jonai became the assemblyman, redistricting basically cut Morris Park not in half, but maybe in a third to 2/3. Morris Park Avenue became the dividing line, and the 82nd Assembly District took part of Morris Park Avenue. Whether that's going to be fixed this time around or not, we have to see, because there's word that the 82nd Assembly District will be moving up to the Mount Vernon County line. All right, and it will be taking some of the 83rd Assembly District, which is next to it, of Carl Hasty, to make it a more black district or minority district. So Assemblyman Benedetto will have a harder time getting reelected. As a matter of fact, let's talk about the 82nd Assembly race for a moment. Why don't you tell us the 3 candidates in the Assembly race? Anthony.
As far as my awareness is concerned, of course, the Assemblyman, Mr. Benedetto, I presume, of course, will be running. And then you have two other candidates. One is the district manager of Community Board 10, I believe. His name is Mr. Matt Cruz. And then you have a third one by the name of Mr. Al Quarterbaum. I should say Community Leader Al Quarterbaum. And there could be others, but as of now, I think those are the projected 3.
And well, let's go a little more into the 2 challenges. Matt Cruz is the district manager, and it should be known that that Assemblyman Michael Benedetto challenged the county organization by backing the candidate who was running against her, which was Monique Johnson, which, Anthony, you were working for. And so it looks like the soon-to-be councilwoman, Marjorie Velazquez, is trying to get back at the assemblyman by putting up her friend and confidant, because she was on Community Board 10 and will be on Community Board 10 until she becomes a councilwoman. Then she will transition as a member to a council member. So she won't have any voting rights as a council member, but she will have appointments. She will give the borough president, the new borough president, Vanessa Gibson, her recommendations for appointments. And it'll be up to the borough president to make the final decision on who gets on the community board. But
Robert, what I'm finding out, and I think it's an actual side effect of the change of the electoral calendar, is that the winners, whoever they are, have 6 to 7 months after they win to transition into their office. Right. So what I see is happening whether it's right or wrong, it's subject to debate, but I think it's a side effect is that because there's a 6 to 7 month overlay, the powers that be, the government that be, it has sort of accepted what they are in the future, although of course they can't vote until they're in office. So I know some Democratic candidates, right, which are presumed to win in this upcoming election. They've already being treated as the winner already. So depending on where you are, Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, some get, the county organization gets a little bit more liberal, with that. What I think is very interesting, though, you do have that 7 month overlay, So I don't know if you've heard, but you can hear sometimes the frustration in Eric Adams' voice, where he's like, I want to start tomorrow,
Right.
but obviously he's got to wait to the
Right. And Bill de Blasio has 71 more days to go. And it looks like he's doing whatever he can to really ruin the city in those last 71 days that are counting down. Now, as far as Mayor de Blasio, he seems to be dumping 540 homeless people into Community Board 11. And Anthony, you and I were from the West Side. I moved to the East Side several years ago, but they've been very quiet there. And really, they've never had to deal with this problem of homelessness. All right. And with the city dumping 540 single adult males into a community board, when their policy is that only 25% of the community board's population be single adults. Normally they have families.
I'm gonna say
well, let me just say what they're going to do.
I'm gonna say this.
Well, Anthony, wait a minute. They're going to dump up to 75% of Community Board 11's homeless population that they're responsible for as single adult males. And the Community Board really has known about this for months and really has done nothing. They can't. I don't know if it's district manager they should have had a committee set up and really grilled Department of Homeless Services, invited them down, explain what the floor plan is. Nobody knows what these shelters are going to look like. All right. So there's a lot that has to be done. And go ahead, Anthony, you want to speak? I'll let you speak now.
No, I was going to say, of course, number one, you're absolutely right. But I'm going to sort of take it more to the whole northern section, so not just the northeast. Like yourself, I've lived in the northern section of the Bronx for decades, and there were several reasons for that. And one of them, quite frankly, is just the quality of life of the North Bronx. That doesn't make northern Bronx sites any different than southern Bronx sites, but except maybe there might be some nuances of quality of life. And in those 40 years, life up in the North Bronx was a little bit slower than other parts of the Bronx, just simply because you can think of it in many different ways: transportation, commerce, right? It was all happening in the southern section of the Bronx. So the northern Bronx moved, but of course not as fast as the South. You mentioned, Community Board 11 is overwhelmed. Right. Of course, the reason why I say the northern section is because it's in today's paper. Of course, Riverdalians are now upset. A second homeless shelter they're getting on Broadway. And,
Right.
I can understand both your side as well as side not knowing how to really respond because, at first, because these are things that neither side ever really had to deal with. I'm not saying that no one is compassionate in Riverdale. I'm not saying no one is compassionate on the Northeast side, but these were things that for decades, upon decades, was not on any of our agendas. So of course, we didn't have to worry about a plan because there was nothing to plan. Now today, of course, it's coming in at full speed. So,
Right.
Community Board 8, which is Riverdale, Community Board 11, which is your neck of the woods, Community Board 10. It does not surprise me that some of the members, maybe even the chair, are saying, "Whoa, man, what do I do? I need some help. I don't know what's going
Mm-hmm.
on." And I don't particularly blame them because, again, like I said, you're living in a neighborhood that never had to deal with these things. You got nothing to fall back on as far as to look at as prior examples. Jeffrey Dinowitz said himself the other night at the Riverdale rally. He said, his concern was crime because the prior shelter that he has, the first one that is now being run by Project Renewal, he
Mm-hmm.
called it. What did he call it? He called it a crime lab. He
Well,
says there's nothing but criminals living.
right. Well,
Now those were his
I,
words, not mine.
right. And what the board does, what Community Board 8 did was they created a community advisory committee to work with the shelter provider and shelter residents. Okay. And from what you're telling me, I'm very surprised because the word was that that shelter is a family shelter, which is different from an adult men's shelter, and that it was working well with the community. Okay, that there seemed to be very little, if any, problem. But now you're saying something different. But then again, I've been out of
According
Bridgewater 2 years, so all right.
according
Uh,
to recent reports, and these are from the elected officials themselves, there
right.
seems to be an element that seems to be hanging out, near the location and are committing crimes. I don't know specifically, how deep the crimes are.
Well, the reason being that I was able to question the mayor about 6 months ago about the policy with this no cash bail law. And the mayor said, all of a sudden, we have a tremendous increase of single adult males who are homeless. And I said, is it any relation to the no cash bail law? Were these people in Rikers Island? And he didn't want to say yes, but he just kept insinuating we have a tremendous amount of single adult homeless men. Okay, so they're now back out on the streets rather than waiting for bail. All right, whether they committed crimes or not, we don't know. There should have been a speedy justice system to decide. Unfortunately, COVID hit and everything just went downhill. All right, but now you're in COVID still, and you're building shelters for 200 single adult men. Okay, they're putting 18 to 20 men in a room, sleeping on cots. They're kicking them out in the morning. Go out, you can't stay here, and they have to be back to the shelter by 10 p.m. just to sleep there. That's no way for a person to be treated. You're treating a person like that like garbage. All right. And Eric Adams, who should be the next mayor, is going to have to do something about it.
Robert, I don't know if you're aware, but in big shelter-based institutions, the one I'll mention specifically is Ward's Island. That is the norm. They wake you up in the morning. You have to leave. I think they wake you up between 6 and 8 a.m. You have to be out of there by 10 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
And, you have to be up to a certain distance away from the facility. And then then they open it again at 8 p.m. and they give you till 10 p.m. And of course, according to them, if you're not back by 10 p.m., the doors are closed.
Right. And that happened up in Community Board 12 at one shelter, I believe. There was one resident who got into an argument. It turned into a fight, and he wound up killing the director of the shelter. And that's not good. That is not good. If you have criminals, all right. I mean, also, I was at the hearing or the public hearing of a shelter for Community Board 9 on Westchester Avenue, which is right across the street from the library and a pre-K center, 1 block away from a public school and 2 blocks away from one of the best schools in the Bronx, the Charter School for Excellence in Parkchester. All right. And this was an adult men's shelter, I believe 180 men. Annabelle Palmer, who was the assistant director of the Department of Homeless Services, was there to tell people, oh, no, it's not going to be a problem. Everything is going to be fine. We have security. We're going to have this. We're going to have that. But when she was questioned, what about sex offenders? Oh, well, there are 3 categories of sex offenders, level 1, level 2, and level 3. I don't have enough time to go into the details about them, but she admitted that level 1 and level 2 sex offenders would be in that shelter, possibly, that they are not denied from being in a homeless shelter. So here you're putting 540 adult men into Community Board 11, not knowing if they're level 1 or level 2 sex offenders, not knowing if they're drug users, because then you're going to need a new drug abuse center, which you have Waters Place, which is tremendous and serves thousands of people. All right. And
Robert, I don't know if you're aware, but there's a case today that proves your point. The Radisson Hotel down in New York City, which was converted to a homeless shelter, was found yesterday to have 5 sex offenders.
Mm-hmm. Right. And they are not prohibited from being in shelters. And even if that shelter is across the street from a school, it is ridiculous.
This is where, and I wish, whoever wins the mayorship, the best of luck. And I mean that sincerely, because the one thing that has happened under Bill de Blasio's reign, and we can talk about that travesty another time, is that he has changed a lot of the laws to the point where, we're just living in all types of what I call bedlam. I say bedlam because, of course, I'm 61 years old. You can see the gray hair. Because, you're mentioning homeless, right? Well, as I'm sure you know, and I hope it's not happening on your side, we don't have a Marshalloo Parkway anymore. We pretty much now have a Marshalloo homeless congregation center.
Right. We'll go into that, Anthony. We're going to go to a commercial break. Our producer will put it in. We'll continue talking. He'll just insert it. But yeah, we saw that.
Together, we will make America great again.
This was the largest audience to ever witness an inauguration, period.
Sean Spicer, our press secretary, gave alternative facts.
The 5-year ban that I've been talking about a lot, not a Muslim ban. They're now putting it into effect.
We have confirmed that FBI Director James Comey has been fired
because of the Russia investigation.
He's a showboat. He's a grandstander.
Appointment of a special counsel. Mueller will have leeway to run the investigation as he sees fit.
And President Trump goes abroad.
So I'm going to be very brief. Thank you.
They will be met with fire and fury like the world has never seen.
You will not replace us. But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides.
The president has denied these allegations.
Fake news.
I watched the news this morning and they were all saying, will he sign it by Christmas? Tax cuts for American families. Happy New Year, everybody.
President Trump is under fire.
Quote, why are we having all these people from shithole countries come here?
Was it hush money to stay silent?
Yes.
Still about $130,000 payment to Stormy Daniels.
The Embassy of the United States here in Jerusalem.
Growing outrage over how the Trump administration treats illegal migrants.
It's horrible and tough. But just remember, a country without borders is not a country at all. And then they go after us for a Russian hoax. It's a witch hunt hoax.
The witch hunt. It's a total witch hunt. You have these phony witch hunts.
I am here because I believe it is my civic duty.
This confirmation process has become a national disgrace.
Something about when I put this hat on, it made me feel like Superman.
To negotiate with you about how we can keep the government open.
We're going to keep it open if we have border security. If we don't have border security, Chuck, we're not going to keep it open.
The longest government shutdown in U.S. history continues.
The president's former fixer and lawyer said he and Mr. Trump committed crimes together.
He is a racist, he is a con man, and he is a cheat.
Special counsel Robert Mueller's report on the Russia investigation has just been made available to the American public.
No collusion, no obstruction.
We decided we would not make a determination as to whether the president committed a crime. We were in Japan for the G20. We came over and I said, hey, I'm over here. I want to call up Chairman Kim.
Representative Ilhan Omar, who's going to hit not only Florida, but Georgia could have was going toward the Gulf. Syria, we're bringing our soldiers back home. That's a big thing.
President Trump defending his July phone call with the leader of Ukraine.
The call was perfect. There was no quid pro quo.
I'm announcing the House of Representatives moving forward with an official impeachment inquiry. Article 1 is adopted.
A U.S. airstrike has killed Iran's most important military commander.
Qasem Soleimani ending his evil reign of terror forever. This nation is our canvas, and this country is our masterpiece.
Impeachment trial of Donald John Trump, President of the United States.
Guilty. Not guilty. Not guilty. Guilty.
This is what the end result is.
The outbreak of a mystery virus in China.
We have it totally under control.
ER doctors saying we are on the verge of a medical disaster.
It will go away, just stay calm. It will probably go away by itself. If we had a vaccine, that would be very helpful. Our country wasn't built to be shut down.
Across this country, two crises have converged. Protests over the death of George Floyd and the pandemic.
The rise and spread of the QAnon conspiracy.
I understand they like me very much. The radical
question,
left, shut up, man. You like me to condemn
White supremacists and right
Proud Boys, stand back and stand by. I mean, I have a mask right here, when I think I need it.
The President of the United States tested positive for the coronavirus.
I didn't feel so good, and now I'm better. Don't let it dominate you.
The wait is over. Election day is finally here.
CBS News projects Joe Biden has been elected the 46th President of the United States.
It was a rigged election. The numbers are corrupt. They cheated. They rigged our presidential election, but we will still win it. Let's walk down Pennsylvania Avenue.
The most significant breach of the Capitol since the War of 1812.
Twitter has permanently suspended President Trump's account.
The President of the United States incited this insurrection.
Take it now!
He must go.
The first president in history to be impeached twice.
Well, that was a nice review of President Trump. I don't know if it was pro-Trump or anti-Trump, but there are a couple of things I'd like to say about that little piece. Okay, in 2019,
Bob, if I might, just real quick. Bob, just real quick. Bob, just real quick.
Okay,
what was the number? Bob, real quick. What was the number one stock in the stock market for the last, including today, that from is now, as we speak, up 432%. Do you know which stock that is?
Facebook.
No, it's Donald Trump's brand new media company.
Oh, okay. Okay, but I
just thought you and the audience should know that.
I just want to talk about a few points in there. In 2019, Congresswoman Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez went down to the southern border, while there were thousands of immigrants trying to get into the United States. And she said people were being in cages, they were in cells, they were being treated inhuman. In 2021, Congressman Jamal Bowman went down to the southern border to see even worse conditions. And instead of 20,000 people coming over every month, 200,000 people came into the country in July of 2021 when he went. All right. 40% of those people were said to have the COVID vaccine or be carrying it. And about a month later, the United States had a spike in COVID. Why? Well, could it have been all these people coming across the border? All right. But I've asked Jamal Bowman, Congressman Bowman, for an interview on what he saw. He said he saw 20 people in a cell. He didn't explain if they had COVID or not, why they were in a cell. And he refuses to be interviewed. I am now asking Congressman Jamal Bowman to come on this show and talk about his visit in 2021 here and earlier this year to the southern border and tell us what he saw down there that is different from Congresswoman Ocasios. Okay, and I'll bet you he will say it is worse now this year in 2021 than it was in 2019 when Donald Trump was president, because you have more and more people trying to cross the border now. Another thing is we have not had a war under Donald Trump in those 4 years. And Joe Biden, in his withdrawal, this is going to be the last point. In his withdrawal, said Donald Trump was working with the Taliban to keep, so Afghanistan would be ruled by the Taliban. Okay, no, the Afghanistan, Joe Biden's border, whatever you want to call his withdrawal, was terrible. People were killed. He left billions of dollars of equipment. The country is worried that one of those airplanes that were left will come into the United States and, just like 9/11, attack somewhere, because it'll say United States of America. It'll have people in the United States in Marine or Army uniforms. And it is terrible, that withdrawal. So you tell me who was a better president, Joe Biden in his first year or Donald Trump in his 4 years?
Well, that I'm not going to directly answer, but I will tell you this. It's going to be a sad state of affairs when the Taliban formalizes their government and then, of course, try to establish foreign relations. And one day we will go there, and what we're going to see is a Taliban force in American uniform.
Right, with American equipment.
So, as far as the border, I think that's a much, much bigger question. Do I think it's contributing to COVID? Probably a little bit. I don't think it's contributing that much. I think most of COVID is just mistakes on our end, to be very frank.
Well,
but the border itself has been an issue even before Donald Trump. That's why I'm not going to pin it on them too.
No, but
are there big radical policy changes in the last several months? Absolutely. Do I think they help? Again, that's a bigger question. The bigger question meaning, okay, if they come in, whether they're legal or not legal, do they work, right? And if they work, what kind of wages are they going to make to support their family? If they don't work, then they're going to be on general welfare, which means so.
Well, one
again,
of our ballot
it's a much bigger question.
Anthony, one of our ballot questions, we have 5 questions on the ballot, on the back of the ballot. All right. One of them is to allow non-residents or aliens who are not with green cards or citizens to vote in elections. Now, what is your opinion on that? You're shaking your head. What's your opinion?
Yeah, I'm shaking my head because I'm not sure what my personal opinion is on that, to be honest with you. I'm 61 years old, right? So I was brought up to be an American. I wasn't brought up to be, which I am. I wasn't brought up to be Italian, which I wasn't brought up any other way but as an American. And I say it that way to say, we have American values as a nation. Have to be tweaked and turned occasionally. Of course they do. Your statement, I think, sometimes I think puts that at risk.
Well, my belief is that only United States citizens should be able to vote. Okay? Permanent residents. I'm sorry if I'm offending people, but that's my belief. I'm also a little older, but I still have all my black hair. This is my natural color. I do not dye my hair. But let's go to the ballot questions. Question 1, the redistricting question. All right. I don't see why we're having a proposal on amending the appropriate redistricting process. All right. No matter what it is, the politicians in office are going to find a way to get around it like they did to this one. They rejected the first proposal and they're going to reject the second proposal so they can write their own lines. The only true way to have an independent redistricting committee is to have a judge do it like they did 10 years ago with the congressional districts. If you remember, I almost forgot him already, Congressman Rangel, his district was Harlem. And what was happening in Harlem, it was being regentrified. It was coming up, taking away part of Harlem and regentrifying it. All right, the district was a proposal to have that district come from Harlem, go through Concourse Village, and into Carl Hasty's district, into Mount Vernon, to remain a black congressional district. Okay, what happened was that was not allowed, and a judge made the lines. And who do we see having the seat now? We see a Dominican in the seat, Congressman Adriano Espaillat. All right, both of us know Congressman Espaillat very well, and he's a very good man and a fine elected official. All right, so I mean, this is what happens when you give people who are in office, okay, here you go, redraw your line. We saw that with Senator Guy Villela, who tried to get every single Republican that he could in his district because he was the Republican Party chair. So I'm going to say vote no on redistricting. All right, no matter what you do, they're still going to find a way to get around it. You agree with
Robert,
me?
what you should do is before is you should read them out loud for the audience, so the audience is,
well, it's too much to read, Anthony.
In regards to,
we would need 2 or 3 hours for me to read everything that's here. Okay, there's.
All right, well, try to summarize it only because so the audience, knows a little bit more of it. In regards to that problem, you're right. It's a big problem. What's the solution? I don't know. I think, the only solution that I can think of, and at least you started from there, is that you go under the same premise of their pay raises, right? They're not supposed to be voting on their own pay raises. So, we find a way to implement that to the redistricting process, that I don't care who does it, as long as it's either someone from the future or someone from the past, where they're not connected to the legislature.
Right. Well, when you say about voting on their own pay raises, they can't vote on their own pay raises while they're in that term. But
exactly.
They can vote on it for the next term.
Exactly.
So, in essence, if the assembly wanted to give themselves a pay raise, they can vote on it this year for next year. Okay. Whereas you may not have all of our assembly members returning, like we saw Victor Pichardo leaving for unknown reasons. Okay, and we have a special election on November 3rd. All right, but let's go to question number 2. The right to clean air, clean water, and a healthful environment. I thought we had that. Why do we have to vote on this? Is our water that in areas outside of New York City that comes from the underground, is it polluted? All right. How did it get polluted, and why don't the polluters pay for it? Or is it that your septic tank went into your drinking water? All right. Who is the problem? What is the problem? Why was there not planning? That is one good thing New York City has, is the best water. It is the best water almost in the country. All right. So I don't get this one. Number 3, same day voter registry. Go ahead.
Hold on one second, Rob. I don't know if our water is, the best in the country. And I agree with you too. When I read that was my first response too. I was like, okay, what does that mean? So it's like creating a law that has no teeth in it, right? It's almost like Donald Trump's stock, right? 432% got created for a company that really has no revenue. So, I have no idea why it's there, what it means. What I do know is this. I drink our water, New York City water, very carefully. That's what I do.
Well, that could be the old pipes in your building.
It could be. It could be.
That's the problem with a lot of buildings. they have lead pipes, lead in the water, but that's from the pipes, not from the system. Okay, because let's not forget, our system is over 100 years old. It was built in the late 1880s or 1890s, our water system. Right now, our main water system, the Catskill Delaware water system, has to be shut down or averted because they have to repair it. There's a major repair going on.
Well, I don't know which one is more dangerous. Fixing the pipes, letting the pipes stay, or our new residents that are polluting the water.
Well, the city had to add Croton water because they had to shut down the Catskill Delaware system or curtail it so they can repair it. They built a bypass. I'm very familiar with this, Tony, because I was on the Croton Water Filtration Plant Citizens Advisory Committee when they tried to put the filtration plant in.
You were on it on board 8, and I was on it on board 7.
Right. And we defeated it, okay?
Right.
And the Mayor Bloomberg had to come in and bribe the Bronx elected officials, except for the two in Riverdale, where Van Cortlandt Park was, to build a water filtration plant in there. I have several stories about some of the elected officials, but we don't have enough time. But let's continue with the question. Same day voter registration.
Who's a candidate? Who's a candidate? Who's a candidate? Who's a candidate?
I know what it is to be a victim of police brutality, to fight for justice, for Amadou Diallo, Abdel Louima, because I was there. Racial inequality is woven into the fabric of America.
2021, make your vote count now, count now, count now, count now. Vote now, vote now, vote now. Every card is a ballot now.
We have to end inequality in our school and in housing and ensure we won't have crime and gun violence destroying our city. This is our moment.
Make it count, make it count, make your vote, make it count. We say, oh yeah, who's a candidate? 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 Who's a candidate?
Welcome back. Obviously, we see that our producer is endorsing Eric Adams, or Eric Adams is paying enough money to our company to have that ad.
Was that from our company?
Yes, it is. That is Sheikh Musa, who is the African, I forgot what the last 3 words were, but he's the African representative here in the Bronx. He represents the African community. And there is a fight going on right now for that representation between him and...
So then you're suggesting that the media organization that Sheikh Musa has created must be doing very well, because I think that's the 95th commercial I've seen in the last 3 weeks. Right?
Well, I was hoping to get Curtis Lewa on the show. Our friend Jose Padilla Jr., who's affiliated with the Independence Party, where Curtis Lewa is running. I spoke with him on last Saturday, actually. He said, fine, Curtis is our candidate. Let me see if I can get him for the show. And he tried, and then he was told, no, Curtis doesn't have the time. He has to campaign. Now, I can't see a better thing campaigning than to come on a show, especially a political show. So I'm going to tell you this. Any thought I had of voting for Curtis Lewa is gone. Any vote, no matter how slim it was. All right? And I'll be voting for Eric Adams for mayor.
Robert, and I'm not thinking of for Curtis at all. But I will tell you two quick things. Number one, and I know this from some of the people I know on the inside of the campaign, Curtis didn't make that decision. Curtis did not make that decision.
No,
it was a stupid muckety muck. And number two, and again, I'm not making any excuses for him, but with early voting starting tomorrow, and you're talking a 5-borough race, and then of course around this time every campaign is in GOTV mode, get out the vote mode. I'm not making excuses for him. You know, our show was portable, right? Our show was streaming. So I should be able to get you if you're in Monaco, right? So, you know, yes, I do agree with you that he should have been here. Curtis, you're being called out. You should have been here. But again, I would be a little soft on the fact that A, he probably is very busy at the moment, and B, he probably didn't even get the message.
Well, I'm going to give you my prediction in the mayor's race. Eric Adams gets about 72% of the vote. Okay. Curtis Lewa gets probably 23%. Bill Pepitone 2 or 3%, and then you have all these other candidates running. But Eric Adams will get near 75%, if not better, in this race. Okay, and that's my prediction.
I'll tell you what, Robert, if he gets 75%, that's not good.
Why? Why is that not
good? We live in a Democratic town, right? 7-1, 12-1, depending on where you live at. I think the differences between the two are very, very clear, right? There's no, you know. So as far as I'm concerned, Eric Adams should be getting 80, 90, and that should be the norm.
Well, that's what it used to be.
75, that tells me, I mean, although it looks strong, all of it, you know, everybody will say, oh, it's strong. That's not strong.
Well, that's what they used to be, Tony. All right. Reverend Ruben Diaz Sr., all right, is running for a state Senate seat. Announces that.
Bob, that's what they used to be.
Right.
But, you know, this 12-1 didn't happen overnight, right? No. It took 30, 40 years. Wow. So 30, 40 years ago, of course the numbers started to trickle down.
Anthony, one thing you're forgetting. Staten Island is still wholly Republican, basically.
Absolutely.
All right, and there's 50,000 votes at least. Queens is still about 40% Republican.
Right.
Okay. And unfortunately, because Eric Adams is black, you will have some people not voting for him for that reason. And that's why he may not get the high number. All right. Unfortunately, that's the way people are. Okay. You'll have some Hispanic people who will not vote for him because he is black. You'll have some white people vote for him because, you know, not vote for him because he's black.
I'm going to predict 15 to 20. He's going to get 15 to 20%. Anything more than that, I think is a loss for Adams, because you can't tell me it's a gain for Curtis.
Well, I'm going to give you an example, because remember Judge Elizabeth Taylor?
Sure.
Okay. Jeffrey Dinowitz did not put her picture up because she was black. Okay. He would not put a picture up. He would tell people to vote for Elizabeth Taylor, but he did not put her picture up. Okay. And you can ask him why. Jeffrey, why didn't you put Elizabeth Taylor's picture up? And he's going to, is what he's going to say. Okay. He will not admit it. But let's get back to the ballot question. We were on question number 3, same day voter registration. I want your opinion. Is it good or not? And why?
In theory, I think it's good. In actual practice, it could very easily be manipulated.
I totally agree with you. And that's what some people who are saying, that people can vote 13 times like Marsha Kramer did in one election, or people can, you know, the parties themselves can mark down people as voting. It is very dangerous. Okay, so that's that. Next question, number 4, no excuse absentee ballot. That seems to be a good idea, especially now with COVID. What do you think?
I think the Board of Elections is finding a way, and I think it is one good way, to try to make the access available to anyone that's eligible. I do worry that, again, there could be, over the years, areas of manipulation, but on the surface, it looks like a very good idea.
Well, I agree with you that, because I wonder how many dead people have sent in absentee ballots. I know my father was receiving absentee ballots 6 years after he passed away. I told the Board of Elections the second year, okay, that my father passed away. And they said, well, you got to come down with the death certificate. And I said to them, you know what? Keep sending them absentee ballots. Let's see if one comes in. I wouldn't do it, though. None of them came in. But, we don't know how many people do send in dead absentee ballots. And the last question is jurisdiction of the New York City Civil Court. Now, this one I'll explain. The proposed amendment would increase New York City civil court jurisdictions from $25,000 to $50,000. In essence, they're probably talking about small claims court, which they would raise from $25,000 to $50,000, which I think is a good idea because look at prices over the year. Your 99-cent McDonald's Big Mac that you used to get, or your White Castle hamburger that was 50 cents, is now $1. All right. Inflation has doubled the prices. So I would agree with this. Anthony?
Anything that has a price to it should always adjust with inflation. That's how you keep the value of the dollar correct.
So everybody knows Anthony and I, about a week and a half ago, had White Castle on Allerton Avenue. And when we went in there, Anthony went and they told him how much his price is for the burger. He only ordered 3 White Castle hamburgers and 2 shakes, right, Anthony?
Correct.
Anthony. And how much did they charge you? $10 and what?
I remember the price, but it was close to 10.
Right. And White Castle burgers, I remember them at 25 cents each. I must be getting old.
Oh,
they were
Lord.
about 95 cents each.
Oh, Lord.
Okay. So, and I got 6 of them. And I told Anthony, here's what you do with White Castle hamburgers. You take the tops off and put 2 bottoms together, and then it's a decent hamburger. But okay, let's
clarify one thing. You went for the hamburgers. I went for the vanilla shakes. If White Castle is listening, keep up with the vanilla shakes.
Okay, let's go to a different topic. Our guests. We were supposed to have 2 guests from the 13th senatorial district. That is Brian Benjamin's old district. We were supposed to have Ali Denis, who is an independent candidate. Okay. And for the second time, Cordell Cleary, the Democratic candidate, has stood us up. So I would say we had the Republican candidate, I believe, last week. All right. That is a race that, well, it's not in the Bronx, so I don't care. It's Manhattan. So you guys can do whatever you want in Manhattan. All right. What I'm going to say.
No. This show is the New York Parrot. So it covers all 5 boroughs. I'm going to give you my own speculation. I think it's been very clear what our feelings are about government and in particular, Brian Benjamin. And probably because of that, I'm going to presume that they didn't look at us as a show, which is wrong. And the Manhattan Democratic Party and the people therein, because these people are rookies. Now, if anything, Miss Ali should have been here.
Right.
Miss Claire doesn't surprise me at all. I'm sure the Brian Benjamin office said, don't go on the show. Now, as far as the other candidate, they should have been here. There's no excuse for it. And they shouldn't be allowed to come back.
And I got to say something about Irene Estrada passing us up to be maybe with the vice president and mayor. Now, I've been with Mayor de Blasio many times, and I've called him out many times. Okay, is he a good mayor? He is the best mayor that can be. Has he been bought and sold? Many people say so, that he's indebted to the real estate industry. And if you look around the 5 boroughs, all these new buildings are going up. Right now, if you look at the Bronx, outside of Riverdale, all buildings that are going up are studio or 1-bedroom apartments. Why is that? Because it's a transient community. People are coming to the Bronx because they're coming from other boroughs that they can't afford, like Manhattan, moving to the Bronx. They're single, or they're they're getting married or living with a partner, and then they move on. They go elsewhere.
Robert, I think what we just saw is a perfect example of what Mr. Estrada would have probably covered up. Because I'm sure one of the questions would have been, because I know I would have asked it, why did you only get 3%, forgive me, 5% in your last city council race? And I think the answer now speaks for itself, because she would rather try to get a 1-second picture with Kamala Harris as opposed to talking to her constituents now that she could have done.
Well, I'm
How
going
does
to
that
agree
translate? Well, she only got 5% in her last race, so I can only presume it's going to be even worse this time.
Well, I'm going to agree with you. I spoke to her, and in the Columbus Day parade that we had here in the Bronx, in the East Side, which was a success, even though it rained and there were very few people because of the rain. I know you were going to come, but because of the rain, you didn't. And other people that I spoke to didn't come because of the rain. It was a success, and the parade committee deserves kudos for it. We're about at the end of this show, so we're going to close it right now. It's just, I mean, I don't know where our other co-host, Dion Powell, is, all right? But I think we did a very good show, the two of us, Anthony, all right, based on what we had, because there is a lot to talk about in politics. It doesn't just have to be Bronx politics, like you say, as the ballot questions are statewide. So, and we want to thank Danny Caborn for watching, as well as all of the other people who watched. All right, Anthony, any final words?
No, I'm just going to actually echo what you just said. Thanks everyone for watching. We're trying to bring political information and political guests to you. Of course, the guests that come on our show, we welcome them, we interview them, we even ask them to come back. The ones that don't want to be on our show, forgive me for putting it this way, let the door hit you in the face.
That's totally correct. What we're trying to do is, in these races, we're trying to show you who the candidates are and where they stand. And unfortunately, if somebody who's a district leader, like Anthony has said, and had a very bad showing in their council race, as a matter of fact, the other the other district leader, okay, I believe he's going to be redistricted out of the 80th Assembly District. He is on the fringe area, and we know that Assemblyman Jeffrey Dinowitz, I'm going to talk till the end of the show. They're going to probably just go out, but I'm going to keep talking. And Anthony, if you want to bring in any comments, okay, is Marco Sierra,
Bob, the only thing I'm going to tell you is, Bob, the only thing I'm going to say is, I presume you're referring to the male district leader, Marco Sierra, who pretty much is in the same situation, right? He ran on the west side for the 11th Councilmatic District. What did he get? He got 3%.
Right.
So, now you got to go out there and, quite frankly, I don't know what he's going to do, or Irene. So, to miss these type of opportunities where you can speak to your audience is amazing to me. I don't know.
Well, as people know already, and I've mentioned it on this show, I am running for male district leader in the 80th Assembly District. Mr. Sierra laughed at me when I said I might run for the city council seat where he ran and did terrible. Okay, I'll tell you this, I would have gotten 5 times at least as many votes as he did. Okay, because he doesn't know that area. I lived in that area. I was president of the local middle school's PA. I was on Community Board 8 that represented the area. And Marco Sierra was an outsider. He's still an outsider no matter where he is. Okay, and I will show him that I will get twice as many votes as he gets. That is if he's in the district still, because he's on the fringe area. And I have told our Assemblywoman, and if she's smart, she will redistrict him out of the 80th Assembly District. He has been no help to her. He's only been problems to her. Okay, and you will agree with me on that.
Well,
Anthony,
now
correct?
again, in full disclosure, I do have to say that, Northwest Bronx Democrats, of course, is a part of the west side of the 80th Assembly District. So in full disclosure, I got to say that. And I think, as with many districts, and we're going to find this out very soon, a lot of these assembly lines are broken. You got an assembly person that don't talk to their district leaders. You got a district leaders that don't talk to their state committeemen. You got, or women. You got an assembly person that don't talk to their Bronx state county committee people. And nobody talks to each other. Everybody has all these different type of ideas. And what you have is what I call a broken tree. And yes, the 80th is very, very broken. And as an organization, I'm the founder, I'm not the president, but I do know our president, Ms. Sheila Sanchez, is going to try to do something about it. But again, it just doesn't relate to the 80th. You know, you can see it in the 78th. You can see it start to branch out in the 81st. And there are, several districts that will come to light where you will see that even though Jamal Bailey says we're one big, happy, unified family, we're not unified yet by any stretch of the imagination.
Well, if you have any comments about this show, you can send them to me. I'll give you my email. My email is 100% PERCENT Bronx News @gmail.com. So that's 100% PERCENTBRONXNEWS @gmail.com. All right. And you know what? Maybe we'll read some of our comments that we get on the air next week and in the future weeks. Please tell us what you think of the show. I know because it was just Anthony and I, we may get comments, oh, it was just the two of you talking this and talking that. And if you want to come on the show, if you're a district leader, a community activist, I mean, we encourage you, and let me know, let our producer know. The number is flashing on the bottom. The email is flashing at the bottom too. If you want to come on the show, let us know, and we'll have you on the show. But we want to have people who want to help the community, who want to work to make the communities better, the Bronx better. We don't want to have people who are just in a position and doing nothing. Correct, Anthony?
Yes, sir.
Keep watching The Politics every Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern Time on New York Parrot TV.